The Huntsman can be a really powerful long-range radioactive launcher hull and can work quite well with a few Barons in the fleet. Today I'm going to go over a Huntsman U0 build with the current specials we have because we actually are expecting versions of these specials to show up in the raid. As I get started, I want to say that this video is actually going out to channel members earlier. The channel members make things like videos like this, the build stock, which has the build for the Huntsman in it, possible, so thank you to channel members for your support. If you want your name on the end screen and the build stock, go ahead and click the join button below this video. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into the build. First of all, this ship is actually a little bit weaker than the Baron. It has lower base armor points, and you can compare some of the resistances and see which ones are lower. It has pretty high radioactive defense, which is going to help out against things like the radioactive turret that most people are running, but is a little different than Barons in a few key ways here. No super exciting special abilities until we get to the CICs. Interestingly enough, this hull actually works better when you run it in groups of 5 in terms of maximizing damage, but isn't very tanky, so you want to run it with Barons in a few cases. In terms of the weapons, the Conqueror hulls these days are actually pretty boring. It's just the Wildcat launcher that came out with the ship. If we get another one at E1, which is unlikely, that one's going to be a little bit better there. This is a pretty interesting long-range launcher. It has stacks, and once you hit these stacks, you get a shockwave. You get additional stacks per launcher if you put on something like Supercharge, which we're definitely going to use out there. In terms of armors, you're going to want to use the armors which are going to help out the most against whatever turrets you're attacking. If you are going up against a bunch of ballistic turrets, you can put on the ballistic invader plates. If you're putting, again, it's mostly radioactive, putting on the radioactive defense will likely be the way you want to go for. You also kind of want to consider if you'll be taking any more damage from specific long-range turrets from this than the short-range ones. Maybe your Barons tank most of the radioactive just based on the way you're driving, and you take more of the ballistic long-range railguns. You want to put on more ballistic. I'll leave that up to you to decide a little bit against the bases that you're hitting. Now, the CIC is actually available at U0, which is pretty nice. This CIC, at least the way it's written right here and the way I read it, gives you a very, very tiny amount of defense. I'm curious if that radioactive defense is also 1.5% and is just rounded. And the defense is apparently just static to just that one ship, but the CIC bonus applies to every Huntsman in the fleet and gives you 75% shockwave damage. That's the way this is currently written. Those almost seem backwards to me, but it is interesting. We're expecting new CICs at U1 that give different effects and such to maybe make the ship more tanky, more of a sniper, mess around with some other stuff, but U1 should not come out for the Huntsman for at least a little while. There's only one choice right here, and it's definitely one you want to put on. Okay, now in terms of the specials, I'll go over the things that you're going to want to put on right now initially, and then talk about the few other options. The first one you want to use is an engine. This is the Vanquish Engine R. You can use an older Conqueror engine if you don't have this one. It's a very, very small evade bonus, and I believe maybe a radioactive damage bonus from the other or older engines. So if I look at these ones, yeah, lower evade, lower damage for the radioactive engine on that. The Vanquish engine is the best one, and you already can get 5 of them, even though we're only a whole limited to 3 of these things as of right now. The second special, and by the way, thanks to TSM for pointing this one out to me, is the Whisper Wave Accelerator. This helps you with some radioactive reload, which is pretty nice, and the combat speed can't hurt. This thing feels a little bit slower than the Barons, just because it doesn't have the Barons' built-in ability, where if it stops, it charges up and can speed forward, which is pretty nice. So the Radioactive Accelerator, or Whisper Wave Accelerator, is nice for the radioactive reload, and we're not quite hitting minimum reload on this one yet, so it works out. Another special right here, and for some reason if you search radioactive damage it doesn't come up, or radioactive accuracy even, is the Fission Ignition. This thing works out pretty well, gives you more damage, more shockwave damage, max shockwave damage, etc. It's an overall nice special and complements a lot of the strengths of this hull, especially of the shockwaves. We also do have a few other options for radioactive damage, and I want to first talk about 2 limited specials that we're likely getting a replacement for in the upcoming raid about a week after this video. The first one is the Conquest Battery 2. That's the current one. We are going to see a Conquest Battery 3 in the raid. I don't know what the stats will be, probably something like plus 150% building damage, maybe slightly higher other stats here. But for right now, Conquest Battery 2 is the best one, although Conquest Battery 3 is likely a direct escalation of this one. So if you're building this after this video comes out, about a week or so, you can check and make sure you're putting on the best one available at that time. The next special is going to be, for me right now, Invasion Scanner 3. This is pretty standard. We're expecting a new one. I think it's called Invasion Scanner X or something like that coming up in the raid. So it's likely, the way I read it, or maybe Siege Battery 4, Siege Battery 5, something like that. Siege Scanner. I'm assuming it's going to be an escalation of the Invasion Scanner 3 because this thing is super powerful, building damage, radioactive damage. It's a must-have on your ships, and I'm assuming whatever comes out is not going to stack with this and will actually replace it. Okay, looking at the rest of the ship, we can look through Limited and see that there actually are a few other options. So it's going to be the one that has Supercharge, like I promised you, and this is available, by the way, right now, and we're not expecting anything to come out later. This is going to be the Obliteration Launcher System, and this gives you some Supercharge, which is pretty nice. So as you can see, 8 times Supercharge is really powerful, and Shockwave damage plus 60% is really powerful, and also the bonus combat speed is nice. So as of right now, this is the best build I have found for the Huntsman. You can play around with a few other things and see, can you switch Whisper Wave Accelerator to something like, I don't think Viscosity Regulator is going to stack on any of these things. No, it's not. Even the Conqueror version wouldn't. So this right now is the best build that we have for the Huntsman. We're expecting a replacement for Invasion Scanner 3 and also a replacement for Conquest Battery 2 when those do eventually come out in the raid. The CIC is going to eventually have a replacement, and the armors, like I said, you can change to suit what the best defender thing right now is. A lot of us were expecting to see a defender in the raid. Instead, we got the Conqueror Specials, which probably means the defender is coming up around the corner. If that happens to be a missile defender, for instance, and it's going to hit long-range ships, maybe has a high minimum range, you're going to want to put on something like missile armor. That's the short version of the build video for you. Not a lot of ships in action. I sometimes do these videos with showing you videos of the ship and such. I don't have mine built yet. What I'm planning on doing is actually building mine without Invasion Scanner 3. I'm going to get 2 done, which are going to look exactly like this. Maybe with the radioactive armor, maybe not. I'll build 2 like this one, and by the time I have those done, I think that the raid will have started, and I'll be able to put on the 2 new specials on these 2 special slots. So there's the video for you. If you have any questions, go ahead and let me know in the comments below. Once again, thank you to channel members who are getting to see this video early. And with that said, I want to give a huge shout out to everyone whose name appears on the end screen now. And until next time, this is going to be Derpy signing out, helping you